So far, in our recap of the entire Mortal Kombat franchise, across the first two parts, we've covered the original trilogy, which culminates with Shao Kahn and his forces of Outworld invading Earthrealm, only to be driven back and defeated by Liu Kang, Raiden, and company. Here in Part 3, we're going to move ahead to the next phase of the franchise, which kicks off a new arc and introduces a new main villain for the heroes to contend with. After the defeat of Shao Kahn in Mortal Kombat 3, MK4 turns its attention to a new central threat in Shinnok. But before we get into the events of the game itself, we first need to turn the clock back a little bit and talk about Shinnok himself, and about how he got to the point where we find him in Mortal Kombat 4. In terms of pure status, especially on paper, Shinnok is a bigger threat than Shao Kahn ever was. Despite the latter being a bloodthirsty, warmongering, tyrannical ruler who conquered and merged many realms. Even back when the realms were still relatively young, Shinnok had his eyes set on Earthrealm. Wanting to be his ruler, but knowing that he would face heavy opposition, he set out in secret to devise ways that would help him invade and conquer the realm without breaking the rules. From those machinations emerged Shinnok's amulet, which would allow him to weaken the barriers between dimensions and successfully enter Earthrealm. It was this same amulet that Shinnok's servant, the sorcerer Quan Chi, hired Sub-Zero and Scorpion to retrieve in Mortal Kombat mythology's Sub-Zero, which Quan Chi ultimately succeeded in, only to hand a replica of the amulet to his master at the end, keeping the original for himself in secret. We'll get back to that in a while though. For now, let's stay focused on the story at hand, which happened millions of years ago. With his newly created amulet, Shinnok invaded Earthrealm, sparking a war against the realm and its defenders. During this war, Shinnok's primary opponent was Raiden, the appointed protector of Earthrealm. With both sides incurring heavy losses, Earthrealm, for instance, saw the extinction of its dominant indigenous species, the Saurians, with the Dino people being almost completely wiped out by Shinnok and his forces. Millions of years later, during the present Mortal Kombat storyline, Reptile is the last surviving individual of this species. Even so, though the Saurians were wiped out, Raiden was able to defeat Shinnok. In the aftermath, Shinnok was banished to and imprisoned in the deepest depths of Netherrealm, on top of which he was also stripped of his amulet, which again would go on to be stolen back by Quan Chi in the very distant future. Seething with rage and the humiliation of defeat, Shinnok vowed to one day return and finish what he started with the invasion of Earthrealm and completely conquer it. He bided his time for an interminably long period. In Netherrealm, he was tortured for a long time, but eventually was able to find a loyal servant in Quan Chi. Seeing the value in a sorcerer who could travel between realms without restrictions, Shinnok enlisted the aid of Quan Chi, and with his help, enlisted himself as the ruler of Netherrealm. Later, during the events of the first 3 Mortal Kombat games, he began moving some pieces, manipulating things behind the scenes, in preparation for his return, like sending Quan Chi to retrieve his amulet, or reviving Bi-Han, the former Sub-Zero, as Noob Saibot, and sending him back into the world of the living to serve as his silent spy. Or even paving the way for Shao Kahn's invasion of Earthrealm by helping him revive Queen Sindel's soul and use it to open a portal to Earthrealm to kick off his invasion. It was only after the defeat of Shao Kahn and Outworld in Mortal Kombat 3 that Shinnok decided that it was finally time for him to break free from his permanent banishment in Netherrealm, a realm he now ruled, and kick his ages-long plan for utter domination into gear once again. And thus we arrive at Mortal Kombat 4, which begins with an invasion not of Earthrealm but of Edenia, because that's the realm that all the big bads of this franchise seem to want to focus on first and foremost, unfortunately for its people. With the help of Edenian traitor Tanya, Shinnok invades Edenia and conquers the realm, also kidnapping Kitana and Queen Sindel in the process. And from there, he turns his attention to another realm where he has plenty of sworn enemies, in the form of his once fellow Elder Gods. Shinnok's assault proves to be a devastating one. The two who manage to survive the ambush and successfully escape are Raiden and Fujin. The latter also made an appearance in Mortal Kombat mythologies and was one of those who protected Shinnok's amulet and was defeated by Sub-Zero. Raiden and Fujin escape to Earthrealm, where Shinnok has now fully turned his focus. Bracing themselves for an imminent invasion from Netherrealm, Raiden and Fujin gather the forces of Earthrealm once again, with the likes of Liu Kang, Sub-Zero, Johnny Cage, Sonya Blade, Jax Briggs, and newcomer Kai, a martial artist, coming together to defend their home against this ancient threat. Mortal Kombat 4 has a stacked cast of characters where the bad guys are concerned too. On top of central antagonists like Quan Chi and Shinnok himself, the game also features a number of returning baddies like Goro, the undead noob Saibot, who is still serving Shinnok, and Reptile, who allies himself with Shinnok in hopes that he'll revive his nearly extinct race. They are, as you would expect, also joined by several newcomers, including an assassin from Outworld who serves as the general of Shinnok's army, the previously mentioned Tanya, the Edenian traitor, and Jarek, who's believed to be the last surviving member of the Black Dragon, with Kano being believed dead at this point. Kano's apparent death, emphasis on apparent, at the hand of Jax Briggs was shown in the spin-off titled Mortal Kombat Special Forces, which, incidentally, was also the game where Jarek made his debut. Special Forces ended with Jax almost completely wiping out the Black Dragon, including killing Kano, but not really. But though Jarek was defeated as well, he managed to narrowly escape, following which he is allied with Shinnok in Mortal Kombat 4. Several other characters were also added to the MK4 roster, with the expanded re-release, Mortal Kombat Gold, which brought the likes of Cyrax, who is restored back to his human form, Kung Lao, Kitana, Melina, Sector, who was a hidden character, and Baraka into the fold once again. Scorpion returns in Mortal Kombat 4 as well, though his story takes a bit of an unexpected turn. Once again, twisted by the manipulations of Quan Chi, Scorpion is led into believing that Sub-Zero, the current Sub-Zero, did indeed have a hand in the destruction of the Shirai Ryu clan. Of course, Scorpion is aware that this Sub-Zero is not Bi-Han, his sworn enemy, whom he already killed in the original Mortal Kombat game. Following that, Bi-Han was revived by Shinnok as Noob Saibot, while his younger brother, Kuai Liang, took up his mantle as the new Sub-Zero. As we discussed in Part 2 of our series recap, when Scorpion learned about this and saw that the new Sub-Zero was an honorable warrior whose brother he had killed, he swore to protect him, just as he had once sworn to kill his older brother. In spite of that vow, however, Quan Chi manages to pull Scorpion's strings in Mortal Kombat 4 to once again pit him against Sub-Zero. The two clash in Goro's lair, and Scorpion is on the verge of victory and dealing a killing blow, only for Sub-Zero somehow finding a way to convince him in the nick of time that he had nothing to do with the death of his family and clan. Quan Chi arrives on the scene at this point, and believing that his foes are soon going to be dead thanks to Shinnok anyway, reveals to Scorpion at long last that it was him who orchestrated the destruction of the Shirai Ryu at the hands of the Lin Kuei. Scorpion, finally knowing the full truth of the situation and determined to avenge his clan's death, turns his attention on Quan Chi. The sorcerer attempts to flee, but Scorpion's rage knows no bounds, and he chases him all the way to Netherrealm. We're going to leave it there for now, but we'll be returning to Scorpion and Quan Chi in just a bit, so keep this stuff in mind. For the time being, let's go back to Earthrealm and its fight against Shinnok and his forces. Well, actually, there isn't much more to talk about here because we're basically wrapping things up on Mortal Kombat 4. The forces of Earthrealm manage to defeat Shinnok and drive his minions back. Shinnok is banished to Netherrealm for a second time, with Liu Kang emerging as Earthrealm's defender once again, as the one to finally defeat Shinnok in combat. At the end, Earthrealm and Edenia are both freed, while by this point, well before this point in fact, Earthrealm has also established the Outworld Investigation Agency, formed as an arm of the US Special Forces, under the leadership of Sonya and Jax. OIA's primary purpose is to protect Earth against interdimensional threats, of which there's obviously no shortage in the Mortal Kombat universe. OIA also counts among its members Cyrax, after he has been rescued from his cyberized form and restored to humanity by Sonya and Jax, of course, and Kenshi, a blind warrior who's on the hunt for Shang Tsung as part of his personal quest for revenge. Another crucial tidbit that we need to touch on before we move on from Mortal Kombat 4. After the defeat of Shinnok, Raiden appoints Fujin to replace him as the new protector of Earthrealm. And from here we come to Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, the fifth mainline game in the franchise, and return to Scorpion and Quan Chi's battle, which, interestingly enough, is where the game begins. In Goro's lair, after revealing to Scorpion that it was him who orchestrated the destruction of his clan, Quan Chi banishes him to Netherrealm, but Scorpion, driven by pure fury, drags the sorcerer down with him. When they arrive in Netherrealm, Quan Chi attempts to flee, with Scorpion giving chase and using Shinnok's amulet, which, as we mentioned previously, he had secretly kept for himself after giving his master a fake. Quan Chi manages to open up a portal and escape. He arrives in Outworld, where he finds himself in a mysterious massive crypt, and makes a startling discovery. He finds the mummified remains of a massive army, which he finds out is the long-dead army of Outworld's former ruler, the terrifying Onaga, better known as the Dragon King. As we covered in Part 1 of our series recap, Onaga was poisoned and killed by his most trusted lieutenant Shao Kahn, who would go on to replace him as the Emperor of Outworld. Quan Chi, whose sights are ever sight high, realizes that he can use this army to rule the realms and defeat his enemies, and he goes to fellow sorcerer Shang Tsung with his proposal. He tells him that he will provide him with an endless supply of souls if Shang Tsung can transport some of the souls of fallen warriors into the mummies of the Dragon King's armies to revive them in full. And thus the titular deadly alliance between Quan Chi and Shang Tsung is formed. Together, the two create the supernatural phenomenon known as a Soulnado, which accomplishes both objectives at once, both reviving Onaga's army and supplying Shang Tsung with an endless supply of souls to consume. Consuming these souls, of course, also results in a gargantuan increase in his powers, as well as a significant reversal of his aging and physical condition. With an army now under their control, Quan Chi and Shang Tsung identify two key threats that they will need to take out of the equation so they don't throw a wrench in their plans. The first is Liu Kang, Earthrealm's greatest warrior, and the second is Shao Kahn, the Emperor of Outworld. Shao Kahn, who has been struck with paranoia ever since the humiliation of his defeat against Earthrealm. They are successful in killing Liu Kang, snapping his neck and consuming his soul, while they also kill Shao Kahn, though unbeknownst to them, the one they've killed is really just a clone, with the real Shao Kahn still out there. That, however, is something that's only revealed in the next game, Mortal Kombat Deception, so let's file that away for now. And thus the Deadly Alliance's assault on Earthrealm begins. Raiden, who served as the realm's protector for countless millions of years, is obviously none too pleased about this, and urges the Elder Gods to intervene and stop the Deadly Alliance and the Dragon King's revived army. They, however, very rarely intervene in the conflicts between realms, and once again they refuse to do so. Disgusted by their inaction, Raiden arrives at Earth in hopes of helping it fight back against its would-be invaders. Once again, Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance features a stacked cast of characters on both sides of the conflict, featuring plenty of familiar faces and newcomers alike. Where the latter are concerned, one of Deadly Alliance's more important introductions, at least as far as the game's story is concerned, is Su Hao, a longtime member of the Special Forces and OIA who is actually an undercover agent of the Red Dragon, on the orders of Mavado, one of the highest-ranking Red Dragon members. As part of the group's long-standing enmity with the Black Dragon, Su Hao uses a nuclear warhead to destroy the OIA's portal, preventing its agents from being able to travel across dimensions. That, as you might expect, has significant consequences in Earthrealm's conflict against Quan Chi and Shang Tsung. Other key new introductions in Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance include the likes of previously mentioned Kenshi, Draman, a Netherrealm Oni who was abandoned and left in the realm by his former ally Quan Chi, and is now out for revenge. Draman's ally Moloch, Nitara, a vampire who is seeking to free her realm, Veternus, from the clutches of Outworld after years of subjugation. Li Mei, a native of Outworld whose people have been enslaved by the Deadly Alliance and its conquest, fellow Outworld native, and Bo Rai Cho, a former ally of Liu Kang. There's also Blaze, who's a secret character. Of course, the game's roster features plenty of returning characters as well. There's Kung Lao, who has vowed to avenge the death of his friend Liu Kang, Scorpion, who returns from Netherrealm and continues his hunt for Quan Chi, Jax, who has a score to settle with Su Hao, whom he views as a traitor, and Sonya, who returns as well. Cyrax, who along with Kenshi is abandoned on Outworld, thanks to the OIA's portal having been destroyed, and Kano, who, to no one's surprise, is not dead after all. Returning characters include Johnny Cage, Kitana, Reptile, and Sub-Zero. By this point, Sub-Zero has revived the Lin Kuei, and now serves as the Order's Grand Master. He's also taken under his wing a student in Frost, another newcomer. Though a fierce and capable warrior, she's also arrogant and displays a consistent lack of humility. Being his protege, Sub-Zero tries to teach her all he can while trying to make sure she sticks to the right path, but Frost, having designs on becoming the Grand Master of the Lin Kuei, eventually comes into conflict with her master. Their confrontation ends with Frost's defeat and apparent death, though Sub-Zero forgives her for her actions in the aftermath and lays her body to rest in a sarcophagus. Back to the story at hand, Earthrealm's defense against the Deadly Alliance doesn't go too well. It goes horribly, in fact, with a number of crucial characters dying in the battle against Quan Chi, Shang Tsung, and the revived army of the Dragon King, which they control, which, in turn, is thanks to their possession of Shinnok's amulet and the powers it holds. These casualties include the likes of Kitana, Sonya, Jax, Johnny Cage, and Kung Lao. Raiden is the only one who survives, and though he does try to fight against Quan Chi and Shang Tsung, the sorcerers are able to defeat him. Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance ends on this dour note, and this is where we're going to end Part 3 of our Mortal Kombat series recap as well. When we return for Part 4, we'll talk about the events of the next two games in the series, Mortal Kombat Deception and Mortal Kombat Armageddon, with the concluding events of the latter also setting the stage for the series' first reboot and timeline reset. And that brings us to the end of the video. A quick request: we upload new videos every single day, and if you like what we're doing, please consider subscribing. It really helps us out. Also, don't forget to enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon so that you can receive daily video updates. Thanks for watching.